Forgot to set the thing out. I don't know if I need to adjust the camera. Well, I'll zoom in. Welcome back to the Unshakable Founder. My name's Josh, and this is episode 18, I believe. I have been on quite the journey in entrepreneurship, in life, in life in general. But I wanted to cover a few personal updates. For those of you who have been following along, it's been a wild ride, that's for sure. And I'll start off with some personal updates, and then I'll get into the business side of things, which has been progressing much more slowly since I started working full time. And I'll just give you guys the updates. Let me jump into this. I got to go to my notes because I write down the bullet point topics that I want to talk about, so that I don't veer too much in a certain direction and stay on topic. So I have a bit of allergies today, so sorry about the the sniffles that I have. So the first thing I have here is not really a personal update. This is more of an insight that I've had. And just so you guys know, so I didn't record last week, but I did post this week. This is going to get confusing, but I posted this week, and that was a video from 2 weeks ago. I didn't get around to recording last week, so this update is for the last 2 weeks. So this is an insight that I've had over the past 2 weeks, and it's that you've got to be willing to look stupid for longer than it takes to finally look like you know what you're doing. I hope that makes sense. One of the things that I've really been wanting to do is just document more of what I do on a day-to-day basis. And it's tough recording when I'm at work, but I can record, going to work, leaving work. That's the bulk of my day, almost every day. I will likely have to work some overtime next week just due to the nature of the projects that I'm working on and the schedules that they're on. But I know that that's going to push back my weekly objectives that I'm starting to set for myself. I did mention in last week's, or the episode that I posted this week, I did mention that I'm going to start sharing with you guys what it is exactly that I'm working on, so that you understand what I'm doing to help build my business, which is a mindset coaching practice for anyone that's new. So you've got to be willing to look stupid. I've been guilty of trying to put out this confident vibe on Instagram, and part of trying to maintain that is just, one, it's exhausting, and then two, it's not true to what I'm experiencing. And when I talk about the Unshakable Founder, it just means, experiencing the things that almost every other entrepreneur or founder is going to experience, but pushing past that regardless of what you feel, because you believe in what you're doing. That's the unshakable part. It's not feeling, the doubt, not feeling whether this is working or not. It's feeling those things, but still knowing this is the right thing to do. And that has never been lost on me. When I realized this past week that I was putting out that more of calm, collected, everything's okay vibe on Instagram, was when someone messaged me saying, "Hey, I love the vibe of your Instagram. Because of the things that you're putting out, you seem confident, everything seems fine." But that's internally, I'm kind of going a little stir crazy, being having to transition into being an employee. It's this is my 4th week now, going back to the corporate world, and I'm getting more responsibility dumped onto me, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I embrace the challenge and the experience of managing multiple things, multiple projects on multiple timelines. That's all fine, right? I have a knowledge management system that I use, which I think already is kind of above what what other people seem to be doing, which is just realizing that there's fires that need to be put out. And that's not, I'm not trying to knock on other people. It's just there's different management styles, and I think my management style within a corporate environment is probably a little more organized compared to others, just because of my experience in knowledge management and project management, and that kind of background. So I realize that I'm not a leading example of the work that I want to be doing, and I've been struggling with this lately. I am a classic overthinker, and part of it I think has to do with my ego getting in the way, because one of the things that I felt very early on, and that I still carry with me, is that if you don't look like you know what you're doing, no one's going to trust you. And that there's the perfect example that I'm thinking of where this is not the case is this ex Google employee who started not that long ago on Instagram and is now at like 250,000 followers, just from giving his honest thoughts and sharing his experience of what he's going through and trying to build a life of freedom. After having spent, I think he only spent like maybe, I don't know, it was like 6 to 9 months or something like that in a Google corporate exec role where he was making like 300 plus a year. And yeah, he just shares his honest thoughts, and it's not polished. It's actually pretty messy. And it's just honestly just him grabbing his phone and recording like different parts of his day, doing a voiceover, and just sharing what he's thinking and what he's going through. And I think that could be really advantageous to do in addition to what I'm doing here, but on Instagram, so that people get a sense of what I'm really going through and experiencing in trying to build something meaningful, but while also trying to do what I'm trying to do for others, which is help people get out of their own way, which I'm realizing now is exactly what I'm doing. And so I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on, just picking up the camera, recording my honest thoughts, and sharing that with the world, and trying not to care so much about, what to expect or what people perceive, things like that. Just hopefully sharing my experience so that people who are in my same position know that it's possible, because that'll be another tangent. But just so that people know that it's possible, right? My ego's getting in the way. One of the other things was that it seems like everyone's sharing their stories now, which is great. But everything on social media now is just so short, punchy, to the point, and very polished. And I think that is a byproduct of people utilizing AI to help them create their content. And it just makes me rethink what authenticity is. And on some level, it's still true to who these people are, but expressed in a way that's filtered. And I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. And I just don't know, if that's what I want to be doing. It's just a thought I'm putting out there. So a little bit more on the personal update side. My evenings have just been insanely busy because I get off work at 6:00 and I come home, I have dinner. Well, actually, before I have dinner, I I have taken on doing more chores because my wife is more pregnant now. I mean, she's been pregnant, right? But she's getting close to entering her third trimester. It's getting tough for her to do more things, and so I've taken on a bigger role in doing things around the apartment. And by the time I get home and I'm done with all of the things I need to do here, it's already like 7:30, like 7:15, 7:30, and then I eat. And then once I'm done eating, by that time it's already 7:45, 8 o'clock, which starts my son's bedtime routine. His routine goes from 8 o'clock to about 9 o'clock. And by that time, I still have some energy left in me to work on the business. In fact, like a lot of the times I get excited and get a little like second wind of energy to be able to work a little bit towards the business. But I think now, because I am starting to set weekly objectives versus daily objectives, it's giving me more peace of mind that Monday through Thursday when I work 9 hours a day, I don't necessarily need to get a whole lot done because I've established times to work on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the business. And the times that I've allotted should be plenty to get my weekly objectives done, which are just, so for example, this week I want to get through and finish Alex Hormozi's offer course, because I'm kind of going back to the drawing board with understanding what kind of value I can provide for my clients and thinking about all the problems I can solve along the way, and then choosing what it is I market to people, through social media, through ads, which I will be able to afford again now that I'm working a corporate full-time job. So, just thinking about things like how my job and the money that I'm making is contributing to the business as well helps me mentally understand that what I'm doing is bringing in a solid income for my family and helping me reinvest back into the business. And so all of this is helping me with this transition from the busy corporate and family life to making sure I'm still staying on top of making progress in the business. So I'm almost done. I'm more than halfway through Alex's course and his book, Offers. And I've actually gone through a couple of the exercises that he has you go through. And I plan to finish the course and the book by this weekend. And then next week will be all of the implementation of actually going through the work of, putting my offer together, which I'm really excited for. And then once I get that together, when I get there, I'll share it with you guys. And then the last thing, which is more of a personal update too, is I had my first hangout with my coworkers, and I have no trouble socializing. I have no trouble talking to people, going up and talking to people, getting to know them, and swapping life stories, things like that. It's not an issue. But the thing I think I was expecting was to be able to connect with at least one other person in terms of values. And a lot of my coworkers, not to speak ill of them or anything like that, but they're kind of in their own worlds and have not really given any thought to the possibilities of what they could be doing instead of what they're currently doing, which, seems to be making all of them pretty unhappy, but they're not doing anything about it. And, that used to be me. I used to be in that same boat, but now I am, taking more accountability for my own life. I'm not responsible for, them and their lives. It's just, I'm around these people so much now and probably will be for at least the next year, if not a little bit longer, while I continue to build this business And yeah, it's just it was, I don't know if discouraging is the right word. It was just I think I was expecting to be able to connect with some of them, but it just reinforced this idea that I'm much more drawn towards, ambitious entrepreneurial people, and exchanging thoughts with people who are, growth mindseted and looking to improve, in different aspects in their lives. And so I just wanted to share kind of that update. So that's it for this week. I will share with you guys, once I finish reading Alex Hormozi's book, I will share, some of the main insights that I got from it, because there's so much value in those books. And then I do want to kind of go through like a revamp of, like a branding revamp of my Instagram page. I know I've mentioned that in the past. That might be, in October, October objectives. But I know that my business coaches, they put out a program, or like this mini course for rebranding, and so I want to finish going through that. I've started it before I started my corporate job about a month ago, so I want to finish going through that. And that'll be probably October's objective, and then my Instagram will be more of just me cataloging my day to day and sharing insights into what it takes as a full-time corporate employee, as a family man who has a pregnant wife and a 1.5-year-old toddler. It's going to be a journey, guys. It's going to be a journey to see, but I have all the confidence and faith that I will make it. It's just pushing past this whole ego thing, and then, not being afraid to look stupid as I learn and grow. So cheers, and I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next week.